the catalogue of the ships. The hardy warriors whom Boeotia bred, Peneleus, Leitus, and Prothoenor led. With these our Sicilius and Clonius stand, equal in arms, and equal in command. These head the troops that rocky Olus yields, and Etienne's hills, and Hyries' watery fields, and Schoenus, Skolos, and Grine near the main, Mycalessia's ample piny plain. Those who in Pettine or Lasian dwell are Harma where Apollo's prophet fell, Helion and Hyle which the springs o'erflow, and Median lofty, and Ocyalea low, or in the meads of Heliartus stray, or Thespia sacred to the god of day. Onchestus, Neptune's celebrated groves, Copae and Thebes, famed for silver doves, for flocks Eurythrae, Glycia for the vine, Platea green, and Nysa the divine, and they whom Thebes' well-built walls enclose, where Mide, Eutressus, Corone rose, and Arne rich, with purple harvests crowned, and Amphidem, Boeotia's utmost bound. Full 50 ships they send, and each conveys twice 60 warriors through the foaming seas. To these succeed Aspledon's martial train, who plough the spacious Orchomenian plain. 2 valiant brothers rule the undaunted throng, Ialmen and Ascalaphus the strong, sons of Astioch the heavenly fair, whose virgin charms subdued the god of Ware. In Actor's court, as she retired to rest, the strength of Mars, the blushing maid compressed, fair troops and 30 sable vessels sweep, with equal oars the horse resounding deep. The Phocians next in 40 barks repair, Epistrophus and Schedius head the ware. From those rich regions where Cephisus leads his silver current through the flowery meads. From Panopea, Chrysa the divine, where Anna Maria's stately turrets shine, where Pytho, Dolus, and Separissus stood, and fair Lilia views the rising flood. These ranged in order on the floating tide, close on the left the bold Boeotians' side. Fierce Ajax led the Locrian squadrons on, Ajax the less, Oileus' valiant son, skilled to direct the flying dart aright, swift in pursuit and active in the fight. Him as their chief the chosen troops attend, which Bessa, Thronus, and rich Sinos send, Opus, Calliaris, and Scarf's bands, and those who dwell where pleasing Ogygia stands, and where Boagrius floats the lowly lands, or in fair Tarf's sylvan seats reside, in 40 vessels cut the yielding tide. Euboea next her martial sons prepares, and sends the brave Abantes to the wares. Breathing revenge, in arms they take their way, from Chalcis' walls and strong Eutrierae. The Asteian fields for generous vines renowned, the fair Caristos, and the Sturian ground, where Dios from her towers o'erlooks the plain, and high Cerinthus views the neighboring main. Down their broad shoulders falls a length of hair, their hands dismiss not the long lance in air, but with protended spears in fighting fields pierce the tough corslets and the brazen shields. Twice 20 ships transport the warlike bands, which bold Elphenor, fierce in arms, commands. Full 50 more from Athens stem the main, led by Menestheus through the liquid plain. Athens the fair, where great Eurystheus swayed, that owed his nurture to the blue-eyed maid, but from the teeming furrow took his birth, the mighty offspring of the fruitful earth. Him Pallas placed amidst her wealthy fane, adored with sacrifice and oxen slain. Whereas the years revolve, her altars blaze, and all the tribes resound the goddess's praise. No chief like thee, Menestheus, Greece could yield to martial armies, to the dusty field. The extended wings of battle to display are close, the embodied host in firm array. Nestor alone, improved by length of days, for martial conduct bore an equal praise. With these appear the Salaminian bands, whom the gigantic Telamon commands. In 12 black ships to Troy they steer their course, and with the great Athenians join their force. Next move to war the generous Argive train, from high Troezene and Massetes plain, and fair Aegina circled by the main, whom strong Turin's lofty walls surround, and Epidaure with viny harvests crowned. And where fair Asinen and Hermione show their cliffs above and ample bay below, these by the brave Euryleus were led, great Sithinulus and greater Diomed. But chief Tydides bore the sovereign sway. In fourscore barks they plough the watery way. The proud Mycene arms her martial powers, Cleon, Corinth, with imperial towers, fair are Iria, Ornea's fruitful plain, and Aegean and Adrastus' ancient reign, and those who dwell along the sandy shore, and where Pellene yields her fleecy store, where Hellas and Hyperesia lie, and Gogonossa's spires salute the sky. Great Agamemnon rules the numerous band, 100 vessels in long order stand, and crowded nations wait his dread command. High on the deck the king of men appears, and his refulgent arms in triumph wears. Proud of his host, unrivaled in his reign, in silent pomp he moves along the main. His brother follows, and to vengeance warms the hardy Spartans exercised in arms, Phares and Brisea's valiant troops, and those whom Lacedaemon's lofty hills enclose, or Messes' towers for silver doves renowned, Amyclae, Las, and Augea's happy ground, and those whom Utilus' low walls contain, and Helios on the margin of the main. These, o'er the bending ocean, Helen's cause, in 60 ships with Menelaus draws. Eager and loud from man to man he flies, revenge and fury flaming in his eyes. While vainly fond in fancy oft he hears the fair one's grief, and sees her falling tears. In 90 sail from Pylos' sandy coast, Nestor the sage conducts his chosen host. From Amphigenia's ever fruitful land, where Ipae high and Leptalians stand, where beauteous Arene her structures shows, and Thrion's walls Alpheus' streams enclose, and Dorian, famed for Thamaris' disgrace, superior once of all the tuneful race, till, vain of mortals' empty praise, he strove to match the seed of cloud-compelling Jove, to daring bard those unsuccessful pride, the immortal muses in their art defied. The avenging muses of the light of day deprived his eyes and snatched his voice away. No more his heavenly voice was heard to sing, his hand no more awaked the silver string, where under high Cyllene, crowned with wood, the shaded tomb of old Aegyptus stood. From ripe Strategia's bordering towns, the Phaeacian fields and Orchomenian downs, where the fat herds in plenteous pasture rove, and Stymphalus and her surrounding grove, Parrhasia on her snowy cliffs reclined, and high Enis shook by wintry wine. And fair Mantinea's ever-pleasing sight, in 60 sail the Arcadian bands unite. Bold Agabenor, glorious at their head, and Caius' son, the mighty squadron led. Their ships, supplied by Agamemnon's care, through roaring seas the wandering warriors bear, the first to battle on the appointed plain, but knew to all the dangers of the main. Those where fair Elis and Buprasium join, whom Hermon here and Mercinus confine, and bounded there, where o'er the valleys rose the Olinian rock, and where Elysium flows. Beneath 4 chiefs a numerous army came, the strength and glory of the Achaean name. In separate squadrons these their train divide, each leads 10 vessels through the yielding tide. One was Amphimachus, and Thalpius one. Eurytus is this, and that Theatus' son. Diores sprung from Amarynceus' line, and great Polyxenus of force divine. But those who view fair Elis o'er the seas, from the blessed islands of the Echinides, and 40 vessels under Meges move, begot by Phyleus, the beloved of Jove. To strong Dulichium from his sire he fled, and thence to Troy his hardy warriors led. Ulysses followed through the watery road, a chief in wisdom equal to a god, with those whom Cephallenia's line enclosed, or tilled their fields along the coast opposed, or where fair Ithaca o'erlooks the floods, where high Naratos shakes his waving woods, where Aegyptus' rugged sides are seen, Crocyllia rocky, and Zacynthus is green. These, in 12 galleys with vermilion prores, beneath his conduct sought the Phrygian shores. Thoas came next, Andromon's valiant son, from Plurion's walls and chalky Caledon, and rough Pylene, and the Olinian steep, and Calchas, beaten by the rolling deep. He led the warriors from the Aetolian shore, for now the sons of Aeneas were no more. The glories of the mighty race were fled. Aeneas himself and Meleager dead. To Thoas' care now trusts the martial train, his 40 vessels follow through the main. Next, 80 barks the Cretan king commands, of Knossos, Lyctus, and Gortina's bands, and those who dwell where Rhytion's domes arise, or where Lycastus glitters to the skies, or where by Phaestus' silver Jardan runs, Crete's 100 cities pour forth all her sons. These marched, Idomeneus, beneath thy care, and Marion, dreadful as the god of war. Tlepolemus, the son of Hercules, led 9 swift vessels through the foamy seas. From Rhodes, with everlasting sunshine bright, Gylissus, Lindus, and Camarus white, his captive mother, fierce Alcides bore, from Ephyrs' walls and Sel's winding shore, where mighty towns and ruins spread the plain, and saw their blooming warriors early slain. The hero, when to manly years he grew, Alcides' uncle, old Licymnius slew. For this, constrained to quit his native place, and shun the vengeance of the Herculean race, a fleet he built, and with a numerous train of willing exiles wandered o'er the main, where many seas and many sufferings passed, On happy roads the chief arrived at last. There in 3 tribes divides his native band, and rules them peaceful in a foreign land. Increased and prospered in their new abodes by mighty Jove, the sire of men and gods. With joy they saw the growing empire rise, and showers of wealth descending from the skies. 3 ships with Nereus sought the Trojan shore. Nereus, whom Aglae to Carapace bore. Nereus, in faultless shape and blooming grace, the loveliest youth of all the Grecian race. Pelides only matched his early charms, but few his troops, and small his strength in arms. Next, 30 galleys cleave the liquid plain of those Calydni's sea-girt isles contain. With them the youth of Nisorus repair, Casus the strong, and Crapathus the fair. Coasts, where Eurypylus possessed the sway, till great Alcides made the realms obey. These Antiphus and bold Phidippus bring, sprung from the god by Thessalus the king. Now, Muse, recount Phasalgic Argos' powers, from Alos, Allo, and Trecon's towers, from Phthyia's spacious vales, and Hella, blessed with female beauty far beyond the rest. Full 50 ships beneath Achilles' care, the Achaeans, Myrmidons, and Hellenians bear, Thessalians all, though various in their name, the same their nation, and their chief the same, but now inglorious, stretched along the shore, they hear the brazen voice of war no more. No more the foe they face in dire array. Close in his feet the angry leader lay, since fair Briseis from his arms was torn, the noblest spoil from sacked Lyrnessus borne. Then, when the chief the Theban walls o'erthrew, and the bold sons of great Evenus slew, there mourned Achilles, plunged in depth of care, but soon to rise in slaughter, blood, and wear. To these the youth of Phylace succeed, Itona, famous for her fleecy breed, and grassy Pteleon decked with cheerful greens, bowers of Ceres and the sylvan scenes. Sweet Perhasus with blooming flowerets crowned, and Antrin's watery dens and caverned ground. These owned, as chief Protesilaus the brave, who now lay silent in the gloomy grave. The first, who boldly touched the Trojan shore, and died a Phrygian lance with Grecian gore. There lies, far distant from his native plain, unfinished his proud palaces remain, and his sad consort beats her breast in vain. His troops in 40 ships Podarces led, Iphiclus' son, and brother to the dead, nor he unworthy to command the host, yet still they mourned their ancient leader lost. The men who Glaphyra's fair soil partake, where hills encircle Boo's lowly lake, where fair hears the neighboring waters fall, or proud Iolcus lifts her airy wall, in 10 black ships embarked for Ilium's shore, with bold Eumelus, whom Alceste bore. All Peleus' race Alceste far outshined, the grace and glory of the beauteous kind. The troops Methone or Thaumacia yields, Olizon's rocks, or Maliboa's fields, while with Philoctetes sailed, whose matchless art from the tough bow directs the feathered dart. 7 were his ships, each vessel 50 row, skilled in his science of the dart and bow. But he lay raging on the Lemnian ground, a poisonous hydra gave the burning wound. There groaned the chief in agonizing pain, whom Greece at length shall wish, nor wish in vain. His forces met and led from Lemnos' shore Oeleus' son, whom beauteous Rhena bore. The Oechalian race in those high towers contained, where once Eurytus in proud triumph reigned, or where her humbler turrets Tricca rears, or where Ithome, rough with rocks, appears. In 30 sail the sparkling waves divide, which Podalirius and Machaon guide. To these his skill their parent god imparts, divine professors of the healing arts. The bold Minian and Astarian bands in 40 barks Eurypylus commands, where Titan hides his hoary head in snow, and where Hyperia's silver fountains flow. Thy troops Argissa, Polypoetes leads, and Elion, sheltered by Olympus's shades. Girton's warriors, and where Orth lies, and Oloson's chalky cliffs arise. Sprung from Perithous of immortal race, the fruit of fair Hippodame's embrace. That day, when hurled from Pelion's cloudy head, to distant dens the shaggy centaurs fled, with Polypoetes joined in equal sway, Leontius leads, and 40 ships obey. In 20 sail the bold Perhabians came, from Siphus, Guneus was their leader's name. With these Ennians joined, and those who freeze, where cold Dodona lifts her holy trees, or where the pleasing Titaresius glides, and into Peneus rolls his easy tides. Yet o'er the silvery surface pure they flow, the sacred stream unmixed with streams below. Sacred and awful, from the dark abodes, Styx pours them forth, the dreadful oath of goads. Last, under Prothous the Magnesians stood, Prothous the swift, of old Tenthredon's blood, who dwell where Pelion, crowned with piney boughs, obscures the glade and nods his shaggy brows, and where through flowery Peneus strayed, the region stretched beneath his mighty shade. In 40 sable barks they stemmed the main, such were the chiefs, and such the Grecian train. Say next, O Muse, of all Achaia breeds, who bravest fought, or reigned the noblest steeds. Eumelus' mares were foremost in the chase, as eagles fleet, and of Pharisaian race, bred where Pyrea's fruitful fountains flow, and trained by him who bears the silver bow. Fierce in the fight their nostrils breathe the flame, their height, their color, and their age the same. O'er fields of death they whirl the rapid car, and break the ranks and thunder through the war. Ajax in arms the first renown acquired, while stern Achilles in his wrath retired. His was the strength that mortal might exceeds, and his the unrivaled race of heavenly steeds. But Thetis' son now shines in arms no more, his troops neglected on the sandy shore. In empty air their sportive javelins throw, or whirl the disk, or bend an idle bow. Unstained with blood his covered chariots stand, the immortal coursers graze along the strand. But the brave chiefs the inglorious life deplored, and wandering o'er the camp required their lord. Now, like a deluge, covering all round, the shining armies sweep along the ground. Swift as a flood of fire, when storms arise, floats the wild field and blazes to the skies. Earth groaned beneath them, as when angry Jove hurls down the forky lightning from above. On Arim, when he the thunder throws, and fires Typhus with redoubled blows, where Typhon, pressed beneath the burning load, still feels the fury of the avenging goad. But various Iris Jove's commands to bear speeds on the wings of winds through liquid air. In Priam's porch the Trojan chiefs she found, the old consulting and the youths around. Polite's shape, the monarch's son she chose, who from Acestes' tomb observed the foes. High on the mound, from whence in prospect lay the fields, the tents, the navy, and the bay. In this dissembled form she hastes to bring the unwelcome message to the Phrygian king. Cease to consult, the time for action calls. War, horrid war, approaches to your walls. Assembled armies oft have I beheld, but ne'er till now such numbers charged a field. Thick as autumnal leaves or driving sand, the moving squadrons blacken all the strand. Thou, godlike Hector, all thy force employ, assemble all the united bands of Troy. In just array let every leader call the foreign troops, this day demands them all. The voice divine, the mighty chief alarms, the council breaks, the warriors rush to arms. The gates unfolding pour forth all their train, nations on nations fill the dusky plain. Men, steeds, chariots shake the trembling ground, the tumult thickens, and the skies resound. Amidst the plain, in sight of Iliad stands a rising mount, the work of human hands. This, from Irene's tomb the immortals know, though called Batea in the world below. Beneath their chiefs in martial order here, the auxiliary troops and Trojan hosts appear. The godlike Hector, high above the rest, shakes his huge spear and nods his plumy crest. In throngs around his native bands prepare, and groves of lances glitter in the air. Divine Aeneas brings the Dardan race, Anchises' son, by Venus' stolen embrace. Born in the shades of Ida's secret grove, a mortal mixing with the queen of Love. Archilochus and Acamas divide the warrior's toils and combat by his side, who fair Zelea's wealthy valleys till, fast by the foot of Ida's sacred hill, or drink, Aesopus, of thy sable flood, or led by Pandarus of royal blood, to whom his art Apollo deigned to show, graced with the presence of his shafts and bow. From rich Apaisus and Adrestia's towers, high Teres' summits and Ptea's bowers. From these the congregated troops obey young Amphius and Adrastus' equal sway, old Merops' son, whom, skilled in fates to come, the sire forewarned and prophesied their doom. Fate urged them on, the sire forewarned in vain. They rushed to war and perished on the plain. From Practius' stream, Percote's pasture lands, and Sestos and Abydos' neighboring strands, from great Arispa's walls and Sel's coast, Asius, Hertasides conducts his host. High on his car, he shakes the flowing reins. His fiery coursers thunder o'er the plains. The fierce Pelasgi, next, in war renowned, march from Larissa's ever fertile ground. In equal arms their brother leaders shine. Hippothous bold and Pyleus the divine. Next, Acamas and Pyrrhus lead their hosts in dread array from Thracia's white wintry coasts, round the bleak realms where Hellespontus roars, and Boreas beats the hoarse resounding shores. With great Euphemus the Ciconians move, sprung from Trosinian Zeus, loved by Jove. Pyraicus the Paeonian troops attend, skilled in the fight their crooked bows to bend. From Axius' ample bed he leads them on, Axius that laves the distant Amydon, Axius that swells with all his neighboring rills, and wide around the floating region fills. The Paphlagonians Pylaemenes rules, where rich Henicia breeds her savage mules, where Euryntheus' rising cliffs are seen, thy groves of box, Saturus evergreen, where Aegialus and Cromna lie, and lofty Sesamus invades the sky, and where Parthenius, rolled through banks of flowers, reflects her bordering palaces and bowers. Here marched in arms the Halizonian band, whom Odius and Epistrophus command, and from those far regions where the sun refines the ripening silver in Albian mines. There mighty Chromis led the Mysian train, and ogre Animus inspired in vain, for stern Achilles locked his sacred head, rolled down Scamander with the vulgar dead. Phorcys and brave Ascanius here unite the Ascanian Phrygians, eager for the fight, of those who round Maeonia's realms reside, or whom the veils and shades of Tmolus hide. Mesthles and Antiphus the charge partake, born on the banks of Gyges' silent lake. There, from the fields where wild Meander flows, high Mygale and Latmos' shady brows, and proud Miletus, came the carrion throngs, with mingled clamours and with barbarous tongues. Amphimachus and Naustes guide the train, Naustes the bold, Amphimachus the vain, who tricked with gold and glittering on his car, rode like a woman to the field of war. Fool that he was, by fierce Achilles slain, the river swept him to the briny main. There, o'erwhelmed with waves, the gaudy warrior lies, the valiant victor seized the golden prize. The forces last in fair array succeed, which blameless Glaucus and Sarpedon lead, the warlike bands that distant Lycia yields, where gulfy Xanthus foams,